So a little bit of an intro. Why are we doing these roundtables? Why did we start thinking about reporting and dashboards? Um, First of all, I'm your host, Paul. The rest of the team will intro themselves in a second. But these roundtables really are here because over the last few years, we've been speaking to lots of Workday customers from not just a project perspective, but initially started from a recruitment perspective. And it was just to find out, okay, Workday used to talk about a satisfaction survey that they did. Well, are customers happy, and if there's anything missing, what is missing? And 9 times out of 10, when we spoke to a customer about, if you could change something, what would be one of the things that you would do earlier? And it was reporting and dashboards. Or if we would ask them a question, to the CXO team once a project is going live, are you happy with the project go live? They'd say, well, it's gone live, but I don't have my dashboards and reports that I'm looking for. And then more recently, over the last year, we've started talking to them a bit earlier in the project to say, why are you thinking of changing your HR system? In the first place, it's come down to because the data we're getting is usually out of date or it's not correct, and we need to see it in a different way to just make decisions. So that's why we thought, let's create some roundtables, let's have some open discussions, and also to connect you guys. It's Chris, you said you were looking for a job, and others in the past, and others maybe trying to solve a problem. This is hopefully us trying to create you guys a small network that, outside of what's available to you guys, if there's any issues in the future, at least you've got more people to turn to. So just about myself, I'm Paul. I'm the founder of Coreteam, and I really over the last 5 years I've been working with sort of company leaders to really find out what it is that they're trying to get out of their HR systems. So if we do just a quick 30-second intro each around the table to introduce yourself. I'm going to let the two ladies from Coreteam introduce them to you guys first. So Maria, if you want to go first.
Sure, thanks, Paul. Hey, everyone. So I'm Maria, and excited to be here. So born and raised in Germany, but now I have returned to my roots in Greece and live here. So I have several years of experience in Workday Reporting. So I did several implementations, AMS support, knowledge transfers, documentations, and all kind of stuff. So everything what is related to reporting and analytics. Looking forward for this meeting, and pass it over to Patricia.
Thank you, Maria. So for my end, I'm Patricia. I'm based in Lisbon, beautiful and sunny Portugal. I joined Coreteam last year, but I'm part of the Workday environment for the last 4 years, almost 5 years. I have experience in Workday HCM recruiting and integrations, but more recently, I have been working as a project manager. And as Maria was saying, I feel that everything touches on reporting. So I'm really excited to be here today to hear also your experience and to exchange some ideas.
Thank you. I'm just going to go clockwise on my screen in no particular order, and Chris, you happen to be first, so if you want to do a quick intro for yourself, mate.
Yeah. Hi, so I'm Chris Swan from England, Northampton, England. Been in the Workday ecosystem for about 10 years now, very much cross-functional, but as I said earlier, heavily involved in reporting and analytics, and recently did the Prism training and work very closely with Ali, who's actually on the call as well, to build out some lineages and data sets in Prism and then put them into discovery boards.
Thank you. Andra, I've got you next.
Yeah, sure, thanks. So, hi everyone, my name's Andra. Patricia, Maria, nice to see you again. We have seen us in Munich in the reporting session there. I'm from the Quartzwerke group. I work there since 6 months now. Quite new with Workday. I worked with Cornerstone before and with Talentsoft, so others software. We are currently facing a revamp and redesign of the whole suite Workday. So I'm really happy to get some insights here with reporting, because this is one of our, as already mentioned, Paul, one of our most important topics to get the dashboards running and the reports better quality. Yeah, thanks.
Amazing. Nice to have you here with us. Ali, I have you next.
Hi everyone, I'm Ali. I'm based out of UK as well. I've been in Workday ecosystem for close to 9 years now. So I've done most of the functional modules, HCM, Comp, Advanced Comp, talent, recruitment, learning. And almost all the projects I've been in, I've done reporting as well. My last project I was with Chris. It was a long running project, almost 1.5 years or 2 years. I did a lot of reporting there. Plus, we implemented Prism. It was a Scratch implementation. So yeah, all excited to be here.
Thank you. And I guess last but not least, Miriam.
Hi guys, I'm Mariam, and I just recently started my new position at Tesham as a Workday specialist, and also my company just recently started to work with you guys. So this is a fairly new roundtable for me. I am representing my team here, and worked with Workday as an HR specialist for 2 years. Now I'm like on the other side, working with the more on the IT topic, and I'm interested to hear your experiences and yeah, to listen more than to really share my experience, since I'm fairly new.
Amazing. Look, good to have you with us. New or not, all the experience counts. So hopefully you'll get some added value from this. Guys, so just to set small agenda for the next sort of 30 or 40 minutes, we'll discuss 2 or 3 different topics around Workday reporting, etc. And then for the last sort of 5 minutes or so, any particular topics or questions that you guys may want to ask or address from each other, that would be great. And then we'll connect you with each other via our WhatsApp group, if should you guys want to stay in touch. So I guess the first question I have for you guys is, and I guess Miriam, you've just started, so you may not. This may be one you listen in on, but have you guys been involved in the decision-making process at any point for buying Workday, and what are the drivers for why some companies change their HR systems? You know, I touched on it in sort of at the start that, you know, better data quality is one of them. So why is it that you guys think, what drives the change? Anybody want to take it first?
So maybe I can start. I was not part of the decision making. It is now 3 years ago, I guess. And the drivers that we had is very simple. We came from paper and wanted to digitalize our processes. So that's a very easy driver, I would say, and a very urgent one. And yes, reports and analytics were not in the main focus during that time. So reporting was off. Yeah.
Just that point that Andra mentioned there, and I guess Ali, you and Chris, you've both worked on projects. How many times have you heard that before in a project that we're going to leave reports and dashboards till later in the day?
Quite often.
Yeah, that's a general conversation with a lot of organisations, is to pick up the reporting later. Yeah.
I was actually part of a project a couple of years back. This was the very first Workday Express implementation in UK, right? The whole project was delivered. We were on the verge of go live. That's when I had come in, and this was actually Workday being the implementation partner for this client. It's at that moment they realized that the Workday Express implementation doesn't come up with any or custom reports as part of the package. you just have some standard reports available, or whatever standard report suite Workday gives, that's all you get. And it doesn't serve the client purpose. So they didn't come to discussing reports right till the point they were about to go live. So yeah, very often reporting and dashboard gets discussed at the very end. Yeah.
In your opinions, leaving it that late at the start, what sort of what does that what sort of impact does that have on the business? What does it have on the project teams when reporting and dashboards is left so late?
I can pick this one up. So from my experience, what I find is that you then get very, very rushed to deliver reports, and the accuracy of those reports, the data in those is not always good, because you've been rushing and just sort of picking out these reports without actually looking at the data, what you've got inside the system. And the data, if it's a fresh implementation especially, data is often very wrong in the first place, so always you're doing cleanups. So the reporting is very rushed. It's not accurate, and you then start, you don't get time to start building a naming convention. You do not get time to start giving enough information about what is actually the report being delivered. And then this is where you then start running into a rabbit hole where you start, one person could be creating a report, somebody else could be creating exactly the same report with maybe a different field. So then you start having these copies, and you can very quickly get into a very large mess with reporting. I've seen this done so many times in organizations. Ali and myself on another project where we were last working at, did a custom report cleanup, which I've done for many organizations when we've done implementations. And then a year or so later down the line, you have to do a custom report cleanup. We had 1,800 reports which we had to review, custom reports. We managed to get them down to, I think it was about 1,100, maybe near 1,000 mark actually. But the organisation was still not ready to deliver any governance or framework about reporting. And that 1,000 reports very, very quickly got back up to about 1,700 reports within a couple of months. It was just unbelievable. So all that work Ali and I did was in vain. So,
and how did the company feel about it when they couldn't get the sort of reporting that they needed and they had to go through this whole journey?
They get very frustrated, and they, especially that start saying, well, we need these reports very quick, but I think you do need to set the governance and framework first of all. Think about a naming convention, thinking about what reports are actually required. As somebody will say, we really need this report, we really need this report, you build it, and then if you look at the reports of all custom reports, you can see that they probably ran it once since building it. So I think a lot of time does need to be focused about what is being asked, what is being asked for, what it's going to be used for, what's the audience.
Okay. Andrew, you guys are you said you're doing, what is it, redeployment, or are you doing optimization at the moment?
Yeah, optimization deployment, yes. It's a review of all processes and dashboards and hubs and things like that. A lot of things that we did not activate in the past, and the impact is that managers and employees are not using Workday in its full optimization or its full possibilities.
And I guess a question open to all of you guys here. When you're talking about reporting and dashboards, where do you guys start? Are you starting from CXO level to first ask what sort of data they want, or are you starting from somewhere else?
From the projects, at least I have delivered, I have seen both ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
I worked for one implementation project wherein we were given basically a dump of all of their current reporting, saying that this is all we have. and then can you build something similar reports for us, right? And there were almost 500 reports in there. So that was one extreme of the spectrum, wherein they said, this is all the reports we currently have in our reporting inventory, and we want this replicated within Workday. And then the other end of the spectrum, wherein we had very targeted requests. For example, this is what we want our executives to see. This is our executive reporting, our headcount and costs and so on and so forth. And this is what we want to be achieved. This is what our HR would need to monitor, to track different phases within the process. And we want this delivered. And this is what we want for our managers, for their employees, for their self-service tasks. So at least for me, I've seen it, and it all depends on the company culture as well, right? If it is really ad hoc and if I've seen companies, as I said, which manage their implementation and their projects, it can be as structured as giving us specific requirements, or as chaotic as build us everything under the sun. So yeah.
I'm seeing a theme here that reporting doesn't work at companies for a number of reasons. One, because they leave it too late in planning. Two, because they give you just a blanket of, we want everything in reports, rather than having having little or no strategy. What else, in your opinions, holds up a company from having good reports and dashboards?
At least for me, the other theme that I've seen is organizations, when they go for Workday, they don't make those decisions, or when they make those decisions, they don't really understand what reporting capabilities Workday delivers, right? So unlike traditional ERPs, let's say SAP or any other system, wherein you have access to your core tables and you can build your SQL statements and basically deliver any report you want. For many clients, it's a cultural shock when they realize you cannot deliver some very basic reports, right? And they would not be able to do reporting in the traditional sense they have been doing, right? I very recently, this is just an example, very recently I had a requirement wherein they wanted me to pull a list of, so basically they have all the learning courses and they have skills stacked to those learning courses, right? And what they wanted to see was how many of their skills don't have associated learning, so that they can then build learnings for those skills, so that employees can then get recommended those learnings.
And knowing the limits of what a system can do is a big hold up.
Yeah, while Workday allows you to build a report wherein you can pull all the learnings and the skills associated with it, Workday doesn't allow you to do it the other way around. So you cannot pull all the skills and see how many of those skills have learning or not. Very simple requirement, and then you realize Workday doesn't do that. So yeah, it's also what Workday can do and cannot do in terms of reporting capabilities. I think that has a huge impact. When client realizes that, a lot of times it's already late.
What about data quality? I guess when you get to the end of the project and they say, build me the report, and you're like, I've done it, but it's not working.
I think me and Annie noticed this. We're seeing this a lot of times, but even as far ahead as like our last organisation, where they've had Workday for nearly 5 years, and then they wanted Prism, and then we had to do a massive cleanup because there was so many gaps in the data. So we had to go to reach out to the operational units and then the business partners, so they can go to local HR to then do another cleanup of Workday to make sure there was the correct data in there. We have people under 16 years old employed at the company. For under 15 years old, under 14 years old. We have people over 100 years old. So we had to do a massive cleanup in the data. Yeah, this is another thing, which is they do not realize that. They'll say, well, there should be more people at this age, or male people of this gender, or more people in this particular organization, but the data is not credible in the first place. So how can you expect to see the reports? They'll say, well, Workday reporting is rubbish. Well, it's not. It's because the data, what is in the system, is not good. We're only going off what the data is in the system. So this is another thing which causes issues with reporting.
Andrea, you guys are going, like you just said, that you're good, doing your dashboards and planning and everything now. Do any of these points, do you relate to any of them?
So I guess data quality is one of the main topics that we cover as well. Our processes are not end-to-end processes, so we are just facing that we have the process starts at a step on paper, for example, then continues at Workday and then goes back to paper. And if you try to do some reports on this, then it's a lot of pain. So we are trying now to review the processes to get some real end-to-end processes to measure something and bring in some quality and also bring back quality to the employee itself and let them do some self-service topics as well. Yeah, so that's...
Okay. Miriam, you've just come into your role. You were just saying you're here to represent the team. Where are you guys with your reporting and dashboards, and are you involved in it at all? Yeah, just from even from a talent perspective, what sort of information do leadership teams usually look from a talent perspective? What sort of dashboards, what sort of reports, and why is it important to them at that sort of level?
I guess they mostly want to know the reviews, the feedbacks, these kind of information, where they can assess the potential of an employee. And usually the data we need is either in the system, so we have good data quality, or it's not. And these are the issues I see when we need reports for our managers.
Guys, in your opinion, a lot of companies, when they go into start building reports and dashboards, they don't really go into it with any sort of strategy. So can we maybe brainstorm for 5 or 6 minutes together, all of us, to what does a good reporting and dashboard strategy look like? Right. So Patricia, Maria, I guess, Maria, you've been in charge of creating a few reporting strategies, or you're working with us. Chris, you guys, you're well versed in this sort of field. So I'm going to let you guys lead the conversation rather than me. Where does one start? First of all, I guess a good place to start is, when in a project should you start reporting and planning, reporting and dashboard planning?
I believe very early on, to be honest, rather than say, I've seen 3 end-to-end implementations and they've always been left to the very end of the implementation, way past go live, which I think it should be thought of a lot more earlier than that. I've done the same task as well with Ali before, where you've just got a dump of reports from the legacy system and you've been told to recreate these reports and no one's even reviewed that dump. So then you already start building these reports and then half of them not required. So I think it does need to be early on in the conversation, and security as well. So you had mentioned earlier, sorry, sort of going back a little bit, you mentioned about what other problems do customers face, and security, along with not being able to pull simple reports, is security, which is Workday security is a lot more complex. And it could mean that they're not seeing or being able to get the reports what they were hoping to get due to security. So I think
you've got a head start on my next question. I was going to say, so you start as early as you can in the project. What are the first few things you do to prepare? So I guess look at the security setup.
Look at the security. Who requires these reports and what is it they actually require? And then the list of standard basic reports, custom reports, before you start delving out into looking at more complex custom reports, is just get your standard reports first of all, maybe do an MVP, minimal viable product, so that organizations can start working straight away and not be pressurized to deliver reports what they don't have. So working on MVPs, I think this works very well as well.
Ali, Andra, anything from you guys?
I have exactly same thoughts. I mean, from my experience, I've seen the projects wherein the reporting was picked up right after the global design and local design was finalized. This is when your design sessions are over, your workshops are over, and you have your workbooks ready and reviewed. That's the best time to now start looking into reporting, because now you know what processes, what functionality, what business processes, what security would be in place or has been finalized for the project build implementation. Now this would be the time to start looking at your reporting to see what are the different personas. When I say personas, different security groups, different roles involved in the processes. What are the processes involved, both at the global level as well as the local processes for different regions, different countries, and then start planning for reporting from there, right? A good place to start, or a shortcut to start, is of course your current reporting inventory. Look at that reporting inventory and see whether it is relevant. Don't just dump your existing reporting inventory and say this is all what we want built, right? So there needs to be a place wherein the current reporting inventory of the client is scrutinized, reviewed in view of the design that has been finalized, and then decide which of these reports have to be built and if they need any new reports, right? Because Workday brings in new functionalities which were probably not even possible in their current setup, current client. So I think that is the best place to start.
Andra, anything else that you would add to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we did not do in the past. So we did not cover the topics of identifying what we did before. We did not cover the report analysis. And I found out that a lot of our managers are not able to really say what they need. So I have to do some homework for them and give them some inspiration, and then they come with the topics. Okay, we can talk about absences. We could talk about FTE. We could talk about vacation planning. But we need to inspire them first, and that's a bit hard to come from that perspective, to be honest, during a project or even after a project, because then the data model and the processes are finished, right?
Do you know what? I really like what you finished on there. I've written it down. I'm gonna come back to it. So what I've got written down here is look at the security setup as to who can access what report. Really go through when somebody gives you a list of reports as to why do you want that report and is it really going to be useful. Create some MVPs. I wrote data quality from my own perspective, but Patricia, you and Maria, you got your hands up, so you go first, Patricia.
Just to add to what Chris and Ali were mentioning and share a different experience. So what I've been also seeing in line with what you were saying is that some clients, and for this specific client that I will mention, they only thought about reporting and analytics after implementing the HCM module. So only after having it in the system running, that's when they come to think about reporting and started their strategy. But nowadays, there's something interesting that for all the projects that we work on, there's always a placeholder on the planning for reporting and analytics. So for all the projects, absence, benefits, on and offboarding, recruiting, for all of them, we have a section to start discussing reporting. And Andra, in line to what you were saying, we also struggle with the gathering the requirements with the managers, because the majority of the times they don't know what they need, because sometimes they don't know what they have in the system, especially in the first years that we are working with Workday. So that's also a challenge that I've been seeing, and that it requires time, requires templates, performing demos to them. So that's something I've been also seeing. Yeah, Maria.
Nice. Maria, your turn. Did you put it down? Did you put your hand down because Patricia covered your point?
No. I have something to add.
Go on.
But I agree to all of you. So this is what I also saw in the past, that it's always like this, right? That reporting analytics is more not really covered in all the projects, and if it's covered, then it's really like rare, like really few reports are covered. What I also saw in the past is that a lot of clients are really overwhelmed with reporting analytics, and that's why they never know, okay, how should I start with reporting analytics? So what is in the system? What kind of delivered reports can I use? What kind of delivered dashboards are already in the system? So this is my feeling, that the clients or customers are really not aware what Workday can really do, and that they don't need to start from scratch. In general, so what I'm thinking is that it's always important to have like a specific person in the team that is like the reporting lead, so that she or he can take some reporting responsibilities over and also discuss it with specific stakeholders. And also agree, Chris, I agree that it is really important to have like a governance and framework at the beginning, so that this is also discussed with the reporting team, that you don't have like different naming conventions for calculated fields or reporting naming and so on, because this produce also really chaos in the system, and you lost every track in the system regarding reporting analytics. And in addition, to discuss the security setup, because a lot of data sources, so from my experience, that clients come to me and tell me, okay, I want to have a report, and this specific security group should have please share it with this security group. And then it's like, okay, but this security group has no access to this data source. So this needs also to be discussed and be discussed also in all this kind of security setups. So there are really a lot of things that would be really helpful if the client knows this from the beginning. So for testing or for refining or finding the requirements for the reporting analytics, I think it's really important to have this also in the beginning, only to give the client, so I'm talking from a consulting perspective, so to give the client the task to review their reporting catalog that is offline, let's say, and that maybe they can already start to do like sort out, to think about, okay, what is really important for us, what not. So what is really critical to have for our go live. So for example, that the CEO can run his numbers. And in addition, testing. And I think at the end, for us, for consultants, is so I'm thinking more is that or consultants can give the client like ideas. So what also Andra told us, that the managers, so this is what I also saw, that a lot of managers are really not aware, so what can Workday do? And if they have like examples, or if there's already like ideas like to having a manager dashboard.
Can we touch on that last point that you were just talking about? And I think Patricia mentioned and Andra mentioned, where managers and the people that actually want the reports are not able to describe what reports they want.
Yeah.
I was on the receiving end of that recently, right? So when
Okay,
HR
sorry.
when HR say to me, what reports do you want? As soon as they said to me, what reports do you want? I was like, what are you on about? Because me as a manager, I don't think about things in reports. And then a week later, she came back to me and said, okay, what do you want out of the system? Why do you what do you want out of it? And that's made sense. And I didn't say to her, I want this process, that process, that process. And I want to be able to measure how much headcount I have. I need to know how many people I have working. I need to know who's off when they are. I need to know how many people in each team are working today. And I need to know utilizing. So I gave her like all the reports. So, and actually, over the last 24 months, if I look at the project that we as a company had the best sort of delivery record in, we started it completely backwards. So the question I have for you guys is, considering managers have so many problems in telling you what reports they want, is there an argument that actually reports and dashboards should be the first thing and you should actually be starting from there, like asking managers and leaders before you kick off a project to design what your processes are, what do you guys want out of it? Have you guys ever tried that? Started it backwards? So first gone to the CHRO and said, we're about to start designing your system. What do you want out of it?
I've never done it backwards before, no. Not in that way, no.
So anybody else?
Yeah, no, unfortunately me neither, but what we always come to our partner is saying, do you have best practices? And I really feel ashamed to ask this question, but I have to, because we need this inspiration, because managers are currently not yet able to say what they really need. So I mean, I said this before, but it's all about this best practices, and then they come and say, yeah, that's nice. And then can we add this field, and can we add this column, and can we reduce it to this? And then it comes to the inspiration, but it's unfortunately not the other way around. So what do you want to achieve? Or is there any forecasting possibility or something like that? Unfortunately not.
I agree. Yeah. At least for managers, I think what worked best for me is when we show them, because Workday has pretty good dashboards and reports for almost all the basic things that manager would want to see and do in their day-to-day life, right, in an office. So show them what Workday delivers, right, out of the box functionalities, dashboards, and see if they want any changes in that. That at least works best when it comes to the people, leaders, managers. But then, of course, when we are talking about HRs and partners and those HR admin roles and executives, that's where it actually makes more sense to go to them and tell them what kind of reporting would you be interested or would you need.
Andre, you just mentioned best practices, sorry. That the managers or you need to find what the best practices are. Is there anything in particular that you're still looking for that we should discuss now?
An example for a report.
Yeah, any function that you're looking to build reports and dashboards for that we could discuss here now?
Interesting question. No, not yet. No, to be honest. At the moment, I'm not in the place to rethink of this reportings. No.
You're going to leave it later in the project.
Yeah, exactly. That's the pain. You're so right. Yeah.
So how do we convince you that you should prioritize it and bring it forward, or how do we help you convince the rest of the team?
Good. That's a good question. I'm not quite sure if we are there at the level of change management. So, yeah, convincing is a good question. So how can I convince my management to use reporting more? No clue. At the moment, I have no idea. So I'm a bit lost here.
Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Chris and Ali because they've done this several times. What are some of the techniques and methods you guys have used to convince or show a leadership or management that these are the best practices, and actually if you had these, they could help you be productive?
Yeah, I find that for me, I always try to do best practices and put in some governance and framework. It always seems to sort of fall on deaf ears at the time, and it's not until pretty much after go live when they're running around looking for reports and that, then this is when they will actually then sit down and say, yeah, Chris, actually you're right, we do need to listen to you, look at the best practices, looking at building out the governance and framework. The horse is already bolted in a lot of cases, but yeah, it's just trying to give them good examples. But because they've invested so much money and energy and time in delivering Workday, and then they start running behind on delivery for go live, this is how I think reporting is always left aside, and it falls on deaf ears. The main thing is to get the go live going, keep the executive board happy that we are delivering on this particular day with all the bells and whistles blowing. So yeah, I just don't know how we can convince the leaders to listen more and let them realize, actually, yes, reporting is a very, very fundamental part of Workday. Ali, do you have anything to add on that at all?
Yeah, I think what we have done, so at least in the past, so any company, they have, so the executives have put in or taken this decision, right, to move from product A into Workday. So they may already have some other technology in place, or they may be completely paper based. So I'm investing so much into Workday, I would want to understand the value I'm getting out of it, and the best way to know that value is through reporting, right? So for example, I work for a client wherein we delivered them dashboards especially for go live, which gave them analytics like how many transactions have been initiated since go live, right? How many managers are going into the system, how many employees have gone in and updated their, let's say, personal information, their career profile information. So the interaction that employees and managers and HRs generate, that's basically identifies the value that the organization is getting out of their Workday implementation. So I think that's the biggest hook for convincing basically anyone to start with reporting early.
Okay. Anybody else? Have any of you, I know, Andrew, you said this already, that you weren't involved in the decision, but have any of you ever sat in on a Workday sales pitch? No?
Not yet, no.
I would encourage you to go and ask the decision maker, whoever made the decision in your business to buy Workday, on why did they buy Workday, and you're going to be really surprised at how close their answer is to what Ali just said. Workday's sales pitch is based around the reports and dashboards. It's the reason that I've seen at top level why a decision gets made to change the system is we're growing as a company, and I need to be able to make decisions faster. And by the time the data gets to me from my current systems, it's on premise, it's all over the place, it's 3 weeks out of date. So I make a decision based on old data, and most of the time I get the decision wrong, right? And it's the first time, so Workday's, single source of truth for the first time there, it's get your data all in one place so that you can make better decisions. But that's at top level. It's amazing how at top level is that, but the management you speak to is completely different, right? They reports and dashboards is anything but what they need. Okay, so how do we, if we want to convince a manager that they should be talking about dashboards, would it be easier if we got the decision maker to sort of come back to them and say, listen, you need to do this because this is why we bought Workday?
That's very interesting hearing what the Workday sales pitches and the executive board, why they've gone to Workday. It's interesting how you've just said that it is about the analytics, but then once it comes down to like HR, that's straight away out the window. They're all about processes.
It is that they need the processes, but this is where this is the problem that why we've just summed up here why I created Coreteam because there was a massive difference in why people were buying Workday into what they were getting when they delivered it, and it was just a simple case of actually when they did the design or everything we just said, they didn't get reporting involved early enough. They didn't. They asked all the process owners, what do you want to get out of Workday in terms of how do you want process configured? But they didn't ask the leadership board, well, how do you want to view the data at the other end? Because they're not interested in how you book a holiday, but they are interested in how many people are on holiday today. Yeah. Maria, you had your hand up, and then I'm going to share, or do you want to share the little document that you created and see if anybody wants it, that it would be useful for them?
Sorry,
She's
I was
lost
on
herself.
mute. Yeah, it's all about inspiration. I agree. So this is what I wanted to agree to, Andrew and all of you. It's all about inspiration, also for the manager. The presentation, yes.
Just the slide 5, I think I will share it because we've only got 9 minutes and I'm a bit conscious of everybody's time. And I do want to give you guys the stage to ask any sort of questions that you want. We'll share this presentation with you guys in a second. I'm going to give you just... So here's some of the information on Workday in terms of standard reports. You're going through a reporting and dashboard strategy. There's over 4,000 standard reports that are available to you. And, Andra, I can see where you're saying, what are some of the best practices? Because in a lot of occasions, you don't actually need to go out there and create something custom. In fact, if you go in there and have a look, you could find it. But Maria, do you want to just talk them through this page?
Yeah, for sure. So this is more standard information about what can Workday do and what kind of standard reports. And so as you already know, maybe, right? So that they have over 4,000 delivered Workday standard reports, and there are some. The most of them are copyable, but some of them not. You create, if you're a report writer, you're able to create custom reports, and of course there are a lot of dashboards in the system, and I think over 100 delivered dashboards are in the system. So, and the next slide, I don't know if you want to. So, this is something what I created is so it's exactly this what we have discussed. So it's like an inspiration for the manager, so that they have already like an overview about what can Workday do, and these are like best practices. So the most important reports or worklets, let's say, for managers. So, and this is separated in team overview, and you have in the team overview like specific worklets for the overview of the team, compare my team, compensation views, headcount, FTE. So all the most important reports for the manager. And with this, I mean, the manager, so you need to make the life easy for the manager. He only need to click into it and check the reports, and then he's done. He don't need to search or something like that. Yeah.
It's another one I shared, I think later down, some of how the dashboards can look. These are all standard, right? This isn't something custom that you've created or that's available.
It's both standard and custom reports. Yeah.
So when starting on a journey to kick off your Workday reporting, I guess what we're having a look at is something that's been mentioned again and again and again: security setup, careful planning, who can see what. Because a lot of the errors that come up are usually just, they stem from the right security settings that are there. It's not just how many reports you want, but who can view them. Why do you want those reports? Really go through the thinking behind it. Otherwise, you can end up with loads and loads of extra reports. And there may be some that you need. I think, Chris, you mentioned because of government legislation and the way that reporting is changing on that side. Creating governance frameworks, standardization, creating an MVP, looking at the data quality, having a person that's dedicated to reporting and not thinking that it will just happen. Right, somebody who understands reporting and dashboards and why a business would need certain reports and dashboards to do it. So all of these things are really important. But the problem that we're seeing that we need to solve is helping managers understand what it is that they need, because they don't even know what they need. So if to do that, we've discussed best practices. Would something like this, what Maria's created here, help if we created a document or something which showed you, okay, best practices for talent, best practices for benefit, best practices for comp? Andra, is that the sort of thing that you said that you were looking for, that maybe will be able to help you convince?
Absolutely. That's perfect. Yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah, I think, and it's sorry, Paul.
No, you first.
Yeah, and I think it's also really nice to have like a starter package, right? So not only manager, but also like data quality dashboard. So
yeah,
it's in general, if you're thinking like these kind of things, then it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Chris, this is more up to you and Ali, because I think the Miriam, like you said, you're new into the role. If they wanted these best practices, are there any resources that they can turn to already to have a look at these sort of things before we start creating one from scratch?
Without thinking top of my head, obviously community, but I think reaching out to also just your HR partners and asking them, where do they find the pain points and gaps. So a good where you just mentioned about data quality is I've created before, and I think Ali's done it as well in different organisations. We were looking to it, and the last organisation was this, which is called a housekeeping dashboard. So this works really well. So this is good for pinpointing gaps in data, incorrect data, missing data inconsistencies. So a housekeeping dashboard really does help, and it actually then makes people think about looking at their processes once again, where they're maybe not capturing the data right, where there's maybe some condition rules required in business processes. Even like, for example, closing positions. Many organizations have thousands of empty positions. So a good housekeeping dashboard, I think, is always a good a good starter to have in any organization.
Hey, thank you for that, mate. I think that's actually a really valuable tip, and it's going to go on our Instagram as tip of the day tomorrow. So I will make sure it's accredited to you. But just before we finish off, I know we've got 2 minutes, so quick 30 seconds from all of you guys. What's next for you guys at your companies and your roles? I know, Chris, you're new, so let's start with you.
And well, actually, yes. So hopefully, I will be starting beginning of next month or towards the end of this month, new role. And they have asked me actually to look at their reporting strategy. So this is going to be falling under my belt. And yes, I do need to drop because I do have another final interview to attend at 5 o'clock. So
you go for that. You may prepare for that. I will finish off with the other guys, but thank you so much for coming.
Lovely to meet you, and thank you for the invite.
No, you too.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
Miriam.
Bye-bye.
Bye, mate. Miriam, what's next for you guys?
So for me, since I just started the 1st of July, it's onboarding. It's onboarding season for me. I want to get into my tools, like I said, talent and learning, but also into the reporting stuff regarding my tools. I think I have a lot of information regarding Workday, and I can only learn so much. So it's a long process, I guess.
No, it definitely is, but it's going to be exciting, and welcome to the ecosystem.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Andra, what about you guys? What's next for you?
So we're still in the design review of the processes, but from now, I would say I'm really motivated to talk to our HR controlling specialist and see if there are some possibilities to cover his reports in Workday. So yeah, and Maria, if you could share these super cool slides, I would really be happy.
You definitely will. Annie,
Yeah,
and
sure.
you? Annie, yourself? What's next for you?
Okay. I'm actually as I just mentioned, I completed a very long running contract
Yeah.
for Kion. It was for almost 3 years in 2 separate stints. So yeah, I'm currently in the market looking for a new role.
You're going to be helping everybody figure out what they're going to be doing in reporting. But I will certainly make sure the team gets in touch with you tomorrow, because we've got a few interesting things coming up, and actually a project starting in the next week or so. So yeah, guys, one last thing for you is we have got a WhatsApp group that we've created specifically for reporting and dashboard people only. If I'm not mistaken, Raoul, I think we've got over 100 and 150 reporting and dashboard specialists in there. Can we have your permission to add you guys in? It's a group where we share things ourselves. And although people are quite shy at the moment and they don't ask many questions, it is also a place where you can ask questions, and hopefully we can get some tips and everything for you guys too. Okay. But with that, I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for attending. I really appreciate all of your time and your input. And yeah, if you ever have any sort of questions, get in touch with us. And yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you guys. Good speaking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.